This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. And, mate, the end of the rugby year is upon us. Can you believe it already?
How's it, Brett? I don't. It seems like we're now going into some, test desert, and I'm not ready for it. So I'm really happy that you guys have scheduled that one last tango in Dublin.
Yeah, that's going to be very welcome, I think, this weekend before we go into international rugby hiatus for several months. And the break will be welcome. But yes, I can't believe we're at the end of the year already. It's episode 42 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast, and we've enjoyed another really big week of numbers for the pod. Dan McKellar quickly became our biggest weekly chat pod last week. Another big games of the week for the final full weekend of the Northern Spring Autumn Series tour. And then, of course, the heartbreaking test match post-mortem for the Wallabies fans on Monday morning. And thanks to everyone who climbed aboard for all the ups and downs that we've had this week. Let's get into the rugby week again, mate, with cheers and jeers from the weekend. And I'm leading off with another cheers about anthems. Again, we if the easiest job through the November test is the French national anthem singer in Paris who sings 3 bars and then lets the crowd take over, then the second easiest job is surely the bagpipe player at Murrayfield. And he, at least as you can hear there, does the first full verse before letting the Edinburgh faithful take over. But I mean, wow, doesn't it bring the stadium into it? I've replayed it several times, and it gives me chills every time. It's just, there's something about the bagpipes, isn't there?
Well, the Bagpipers Union it's a collective bargaining agreement. That's what happened, and they're sending them back to think again. But no, it's I do think it's one of those sing-along-y anthems, probably because it's not an anthem really, and so it's more designed for singing. But the one I always think is weird and awkward is from Argentina, and actually a lot of Latin American countries from Revolutionary Spirit have this sort of operatic beginning, forever and ever and ever, and then you're waiting. By the time they start to sing, everyone is already bawling. They're crying.
Yeah. And then the whole thing's over in 10 seconds.
The quickest anthem is Japan. It's like, I don't know, it's a haiku, and it's all about 6,000 years old moss on a rock. I like that.
Cheer, me friend.
Cheers. I'm not going to preface anything. I'm diving into I'm going to cheer the hell out of this one.
Okay.
When you name as a body for Coach of the Year, World Rugby, a person that no one actually knows, and you have to say, who.
This is what they did.
Yes. And then it's even not really the code that is the premier shop window code of our sport, or the proper code of our sport. And you have on the other side of that panel several worthy candidates, including a person who was able to take, a World Cup winning squad, keep the fire up. Their souls have been emptied to win, and you keep going. You bet in some new talent. You have Afalele Fasi, you have Sasha Ngomazulu, and you still keep your old standards, and you have 3 candidates for the World Player of the Year. And that guy, because of some old grudge or not insufficient propitiation of the gods, is still in the doghouse, then it just seems small-minded. It seems puny, and it seems pathetic.
Yes. We will make mention of the World Player of the Year and the World Rugby Awards, but it was kind of grating, I think, that Rassie Erasmus, for everything that he's done this year, and that includes a Rugby World Cup, is somehow not the Coach of the Year.
Forgive him. It's okay. It's over now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just look at even if you can't forgive him for what he did in the past, look at his last 12 months.
Yeah.
And then find me a better coaching record than that.
And exposing and inviting rugby into demographics and groups, townships and suburbs and schools that had never before accepted it. And that's a microcosm of what World Rugby says it's trying to do in Uruguay, in Peru, in Chile. So let's think that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. In Spain, in Germany. Exactly. It all makes perfect sense to me. The Northern Spring Autumn Series Tour is nearly done for 2024, but with one last mouth-watering contest to come this weekend. And we've got a wonderful guest to get into it right after this. In fact. This week's guest is someone I've never spoken to before, but have lots of questions for. He's a best-selling author, a features writer for the Irish Independent and RugbyPass, which means we're theoretically colleagues. And as the writer and director of the already much acclaimed play Soldier Field, he's the man responsible for my co-host being admitted to the Actors Guild. Please welcome Irish sports writer and playwright Patrick McCarry. How are you doing, mate?
Hey guys, yeah, that pleasure to have you guys on. And yeah, I even we were having our little preamble beforehand. I never actually said to Harry, thanks very much for his his basically his appearance on stage in a play here in Ireland, and it's a sellout play, and he had a huge moment in it as well. So we're hoping to maybe get him over in the new year because we're bringing it down to Munster. So hopefully he can kind of come over and make a guest appearance.
Yeah, how's it, Pat? I have booked my flights. I'm ready, and I've made the plans. I know who's going with me. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna get dressed up and come.
There
is so much I need to ask about Soldier Field, Pat. In particular, Harry's involvement in it, and we'll actually come back to it because it is going gangbusters in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
But in a nutshell, what's it all about?
It's about Ireland's win over the All Blacks, their first ever win in Test history. In Soldier Field in Chicago back in 2016, and it's kind of the lead into it is all about kind of just the Munster players that are involved and the fans that are involved, especially around the time of Anthony Foley kind of passing away, which happened only 4 weeks before the big game. So it's kind of told from a fan's perspective and a player's perspective. But the feedback we've got so far is it's a bit like a match. Like you're up and down and you feel wrecked at the end of it, and you feel like you need to go for a drink and you want to have a sing song. So that's the kind of the best of a feedback we've got so far anyway.
Oh, fantastic.
It's such a good reminder that sports at its essence, even at the top level with assistant coaches and physiotherapists and plans that go awry, like moments like that inspire and inflame a team to do more than they could do, just a little bit more. It still works. We saw it this year in the Autumn Nation series, we saw it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, and it's like sometimes it's like kind of even there, it's like I was a fan for so many years before I was lucky enough to kind of go along to these games for free, I went along and we might even get stuck into some of the atmosphere questions at games as well. Yeah. And I've been to so many games and kind of just I always remember now, not to bring back any bad memories for you, Harry, but when we beat South Africa in Croke Park in the fog in 2009, and I went to the game with my dad, but we couldn't get tickets together, so I was just sitting beside a stranger for the game, and when we held on and we won that game at the end. I remember the full-time whistle going and having no one to hug, and we both turned and me and the stranger looked at each other. We're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was just this moment of extreme kind of passion and and then we kind of just walked their separate ways, and never spoke to each other again. But we had a moment,
That is interesting that you find yourself hugging and reacting. Also, if you I remember in the quarterfinal against France, and it was maybe 5 or 6 Bock fans in a sea of blue, and you end up reaching over to each other, annoyingly to the people around you, to celebrate each little tiny thing. For that 2 hours, you are like brethren.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's been interesting to see Ireland's up and down, I think we'd have to say, this year, Pat. They finally enjoyed a comfortable win this series though over Fiji. They looked pretty good again on the weekend.
Yeah, and then it was funny because we were talking to Andy Farrell after the game against Argentina, which Ireland were kind of fortunate enough to they just had enough points in the bank that they kind of got over the line at the end. It could have easily been a draw there if the Argentinians had went for even set back for a drop goal or something like that, or there was a lot of pressure at the end. But he was talking about he didn't want to change things too much, and he was kind of saying you can't be giving out cheap caps, and the press is sometimes looking for always the new players to come in or new stories to write about. But he was saying he wasn't going to change things up too much, but then he kind of did a little bit, kind of freshened it up, and it paid off at the weekend. And so they should be kind of in good form, kind of bring back some of the guys for the Wallabies there at the weekend. But it was good that kind of fell into place and things started to click, because starting to get worried. It's playing against New Zealand and Argentina, and the sight of lads getting repelled backwards and we're not even playing against South Africa was concerning to me. Like, so it's good to finally start getting some tries and getting that feel for the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be like that, getting the confidence back and dotting the ball down a few times.
It did look like, coming from the outside looking in, it did look like Ireland had been slow to adjust to some of the law variations for this series. What is that something that Farrell's discussed, and did he sort of have an answer for why that might be?
Yeah, like he kind of, and there was a lot of talk of like, Andrew Goodman is now in, and and in place of Mike Catt as well, and yeah, that the law changes, and he kind of, like, to the press he was kind of saying no, like, where everything has been going okay, but yeah, there was the sense that like Ireland would kind of, they'd live off the box kick and kind of like putting it into the air, and that first game against the All Blacks, I know even the All Blacks gave away a few penalties for kind of escorting and stuff like that, but it just goes against the norm of what they were doing as well. But yeah, that first game, it is different. Yeah, everything changes, and I think a lot of people were saying there with Nick Berry in the first game, like that the All Blacks would have been used to his style of refereeing, whereas Ireland were trying to learn on the fly and seeing what he approves of, what he doesn't approve of. Like the scrums were slow. They were like, the ball was in play like probably 10 minutes less than a normal game, and it was a real cup rugby type of game. Like, and definitely played into the All Blacks' hands as well. Like, so a few of those things have gone against. So maybe it is having a bit of time in, getting your hands on them and having them for a few weeks. So maybe we might see them at their best for Australia. The shame here in Ireland was that we
don't need that. No, they can have another week off.
The shame is that we played the All Blacks first. Everybody was saying, God, if we had a warm-up game and then went into the All Blacks, we might have had a chance. But we'll see how they're all kind of faring now for this weekend.
When I was
it's probably something, Harry, we don't think about, the Northern Hemisphere teams. Ireland probably get Nick Berry once a year.
Yeah, that's true. When I left Aviva, so I always think of Irish as by nature a lamenting nation more than a triumphalist one, because the history has given them special gifts and virtues on lamenting things. And I found that so no one went home; they all went to the pub anyway, and they analyzed. And so I was amongst your brethren, and I've picked up on 3 narratives, Pat, and I kind of wanted you to tell me what you think is true. Maybe they all are, but one was that the successorship to Johnny Sexton was not as simple as it had been made out to be with the drop goal in Durban, that when push came to shove and when things had to change and finding your shape in the middle of phase play, Sexton was a genius at directing other players. Quite hard for Crowley or Frawley to yell at Henshaw or somebody. Yeah. Second narrative I got was that the emphasis, not even the change of laws or variations, but the emphasis on clean air, clean sky would work against Ireland more, because so much of player pace placement is huge in the system, and on Mike Catt's system, where blockers, dummy runs, and even escorting and shepherding back. And the third one was that Andy Farrell was already was already looking at the Lions. So and that was all in the pub. So tell me what you think is valid there and what is smokescreen.
Yeah, like it's been interesting. Like the Crowley kind of, it was almost like, sure, like we've lived in, here in Ireland for the last decade, it was all the talk was about replacing Sexton. Once a player hits their 30s, like it's like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to get in? So there was a lot of kind of people came and went, and then it was just like, the next, cab on the rank was Crowley, but Crowley just kind of seemed to, he had, especially when Munster went down to beat the Stormers in the final as well, like, and he played so well in that kind of knockout rugby run, including like getting a drop goal against Leinster as well, like that it looked like he came at the right time. He had the attitude where he was able to boss around teams a little bit as well, and so it looked like he had kind of done it, and then Frawley came along and everyone started getting excited. He gets very unfortunate with injuries where like he never seems to get a straight run at it. And then it's like, just as Crowley might think, my time is now, all of a sudden Sam Prendergast comes through and everybody's getting very excited about him. But the thing so far I've kind of seen about Crowley, it's just like, like you could see with Sexton, like he used to play up such a high line, and he kind of timed his passing so well. And Prendergast is the closest to that, like, without being anywhere near Sexton's level yet. But I think that's and it is a thing you hear about players, and you get feedback from coaches and other, teammates as well. Like, but it's when you see somebody up, like you you saw Prendergast come on against Argentina, and all of a sudden he's like timing his passes, and it's like he's not afraid to take hits to put a guy through a gap, and he's got this bullet of a pass. And it's only then you kind of like, you're sitting up, you're like, oh, hold on a second, there's something about him. but back now, like in Ireland, like there's the Munster fans are doing their nut in because they're saying like, like give our guy a chance here. Like, and the minute Prendergast comes and shows a bit of razzle dazzle, everybody's now going, yeah, this is the guy. Like, so I still think Crowley will kind of start at the weekend, but it'll be interesting. Like Farrell seems to be very impressed by Prendergast, but knowing Farrell, like he just might be doing that to light a bit of a fire under Crowley. Like, but yeah, then in the middle of it all, we spoke about the drop goal there in South Africa, and that Frawley looks like his one audition was the All Blacks and that kind of 20 odd minutes against them, and he's, you've dropped back to reserve now again, like, and like, yeah. So
and he buggered 2 drop goals up too, didn't he? So that
how much is
the skill you're known for if you're buggering that up?
Yeah. How much is Sexton involved in choosing his own successor inside the coaching setup?
Yeah, like it's like he would have a big part to play in that. If he thinks he's kind of there, like, you're going to listen to his opinion as well, and kind of like it was very interesting. I think in the preseason I spoke to Frawley like down in Wexford, and like Leinster were doing like an open training session. And Frawley kept speaking about having to run the week and own the week and kind of be the boss, and kind of he wasn't even talking much about how I want to play on the pitch. It's like, I have to be the leader in training and stuff. And there's talk already like Crowley is that down in Munster, and that even Prendergast is this young, like the kind of the brashness of youth, that he has come in and he's barking out orders, and he's running the week already. So and that to somebody like Sexton would appeal to him, because he's a guy who kind of came in from his early 20s, mid-20s, and was just, as you said, having to kind of bite the heads off older, more experienced players as well. So Farrell was talking at the moment, kind of, Sexton's kind of went into the working world. Some people thought he'd go straight into coaching, but he kind of went into the kind of the 9 to 5. I don't know if it's 9 to 5 now, but he's definitely working a bit. But Farrell was kind of saying he's coming in and out, like, off his own kind of time, and they're not telling him you're in Tuesday at 11 and you're in at Thursday as well. It's like he's telling them he'll come in and work with them. So
that's pretty Johnny Sexton to do what he wants, and
it is.
You've probably got a golden ticket, So, but yeah, you can imagine that he definitely, like, if his opinion is this is the guy, I think. Farrell will make his own decisions, but like if Sexton's backing somebody, it's gonna his word's gonna carry a lot of weight.
Is there a fear in Ireland, Pat, that the search for the next Johnny Sexton is going to take a period of time, and that it might be a bit of a meal around the neck for whoever's in line? Because we see it so often. We've seen it in New Zealand after Dan Carter, and then when it was Richie Mo'unga, we're now seeing who is replacing Richie Mo'unga. That's the issue.
England is the same thing with Farrell.
With Farrell,
Ford.
It's been a problem.
Smith.
It's been a problem in Australia for 20 years since Stephen Larkham retired. So actually, not quite 20. You won't like me saying that. but like it's when such a big figure in the game goes, replacing them is always so much harder, and probably takes so much longer than you hope.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, you kind of, for a while, I think what you'd almost hope is, I just want somebody who's steady here, like, steady, unspectacular, does the job. But then, that's what Crowley has seemed to be like, and that's kind of probably running Crowley down a little bit, like, because he had a nice try there, even at the against Argentina, a nice little step inside someone and scored, and he is a kind of a brave player sometimes, like, and kind of doesn't mind taking hits as well, like, but then when you have somebody comes on like Prendergast, who's kind of like, even his assist at the weekend, I think it was from Mac Hansen. It was just like on the run at pace, just doing a little cross kick over, like landed right in his chest as well. Like, that's kind of so casual. Like, and he's not perfect yet, but he's the one that everybody's getting excited about. But I suppose at this level, we probably know, like, and as you've probably seen, like, as you said, since Larkham kind of went, that like, that you're kind of wishing for too much, but it doesn't stop you wishing at the same time. Like, so I feel it'll be like the drama, well, not the drama, but like it'll be a headline for the next year or two. Like, and like already there, like, you're seeing the TV directors, they know what they're doing. They're cutting to Crowley when somebody does something or cutting to Prendergast and stuff like that. So yeah.
But it's interesting because I think Ireland might need something special from that position, mostly because meters post contact are low compared to the other big powerful teams. They're not able to steamroller at and get cheap scrum penalties as easily. It correlates very much with the number of plays and phases they can build in 22, and so you're looking for somebody like a LaRue kind of type person, or a Bowden Barrett, someone who could unlock a defense when it's been pretty locked up. So, it took special moments to win these major matches. So when you look at the candidates across, is it Prendergast that really looks like the one who has the most Sexton-like qualities?
Yeah, like I would, from looking at him so far, like, and people actually, you guys would know, like Matt Williams then as well, like he's kind of the Aussie voice over here as well in Ireland as well.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
The contrarian voice sometimes as well, like, but like he was kind of saying like, oh, everybody's getting too excited about Prendergast, and there is a kind of like a kernel of truth in that, like, and but like, yeah, I would say at the moment it's probably like a season too soon for Prendergast, because you're just seeing. But like the interesting thing is when you see the squad photos, they get together they're all lined up on the bench and stuff like that. But you kind of see the size of him compared to other players, and like he does have the frame that he can kind of carry a little bit more weight. So like he still looks like he could take a few more kilos on board, and kind of then be a real kind of a player.
He does look skinny.
Yeah, like he almost has like a
so
kind
did Sexton when he was younger.
Sexton famously joked that he had the shoulders of a snake.
Sexton looked like he had the linebackers, like the full-on shoulder pads, like, with the kind of the chest stuff as well. Like, but like Prendergast kind of, it looks like you'd give him the edge, but I think you would say it's Crowley's going, like, starting this weekend, going into the Six Nations. It's almost like it's Crowley's jersey for now, unless he kind of has a kind of a poor couple of games, and then there's kind of like, but then at the same time, anything can happen here, like, and there's always like an injury away or something like that from somebody else getting a run at it. But I'd say Prendergast is coming, but Crowley's going to hold on to it for the rest of the season.
Yeah. On the Six Nations, what have you seen through these November tests of your main threats in 2025? It looks like it's France and Scotland for the moment. The minute Dupont is back, then France are a different beast again. But like, at least let's say, like, Ireland gets lucky in some years of the Six Nations where we get England and France at home. So then they're the years that we all get excited. And the minute there's one game won, you start talking about Grand Slams again and stuff like that. But yeah, you wouldn't worry about Wales at the moment. Like, Italy could kind of surprise somebody as well. But England have Ireland first, I think, in Dublin as well. Like, so that's going to be make or break for them. Like, if they lose again, it could all go against them. But we've seen England have rumbled Ireland in the past as well. Like, so, or in the recent past, I should say. So, but yeah, France looked like the big trust. And then, I'm kind of impressed by Scotland at the weekend. Like, I know Australia are almost running on fumes now at the moment, but they're like impressive winners against the Wallabies there, I thought. Yeah, no, they definitely were.
Yeah, I thought the defensive schemes of Steve Tandy are really coming together. And we always think of Scotland as this, pedal to the metal, outscore you, but they really have some solid defense. And I think the addition of Blair Kinghorn and the level at which he plays week in, week out, and some of the top level he's had to play really helps in the post-Hog, God bless him, era. And then, so the blue teams, are you playing all the blue teams at home in Dublin this year? Is that how it works?
No, so it'd be England and France at home, and then you always have Scotland, Scotland, Wales, and Italy away. Then
okay,
yeah. So this is when we normally think that this is our best chance if we wanted to do again. Now this would be being greedy, looking for another Grand Slam, but then I kind of think that we are a kind of in between World Cups team as well, and we should just focus on that and don't worry about World Cups anymore.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit weird sitting in the stands watching the All Black match, which was a strange one anyway. It sort of started at a crescendo and then kind of worked its way down. We were thinking about a 3-act play. The coolest part was the first act. But when you saw the the Irish version of the bomb squad come on, and it was Peter O'Mahony, Ian Henderson, Conor Murray, Cian Healy. I was like, wait, that's not really how it's supposed to work. Where's the new, where's the new blood?
Faster.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was interesting to see at the weekend there. They tried Tom O'Toole as a loose head there as well. Like, you kind of normally plays tight head, and he was a guy who kind of, like the Irish legend, like Willie Anderson, has been talking up for a couple of years, but he doesn't seem to be able to kind of put it in, like in the big matches when it kind of counts as well, for all his kind of qualities as well. Like, but yeah, I kind of felt that, like, and Ian Henderson has been a great player over the years, like a Lion as well. Like, but yeah, I saw him come on against New Zealand, and you like, it's sometimes it could be harsh, but you're just like, this guy's days are numbered here. Like, he's not and that's very harsh, because I was saying, he could still play at like test level, but not against the very best. Like, and like, I saw that Springboks game against Wales at the weekend, and it was like, it's almost like a different level of kind of rugby that he's playing. And I like O'Mahony, like, what's he like, unless he's coming on to basically come on and cause fights for the last 20 minutes, or kind of or like come on like the God of War, like, what's he doing then as well? And then Healy, like, it's almost like you'd probably, like, again, like for a lot of like long serving players, like, you take him for granted, like you're going to miss him when he's gone. But I think a lot of people got frustrated, especially after that loss. Like, what are we doing here? I think another journalist said that to me afterwards. Like, what have we learned here from putting this, like, just give new guys a go, like, and see how we get on. So, like, the Boks seem to be doing great with doing that. Like, they're kind of giving lads a bit of a taste, and like someone like Hannacum coming into the squad, like, who probably go straight into a lot of test 15s, like, they're just kind of giving him a little taste as well. Like, so, but it was good there at the weekend against Fiji to see like a little glimpse of the future as well. Like, and like Clarkson getting another game as well. So, it's funny, isn't it? Like, we're like, for many years, like, as an Irish fan, like, you just be kind of hoping just to be in the mix, and now you kind of get, I don't know, I feel like a Kiwi sometimes. I feel like you're winning games and you want more as well. Like, I don't know, like, I should just be grateful, but I think we've been a bit spoiled here for the last 5 or 6 years.
But you look at
that's what expectation will do to you.
Yeah. There are other Ulstermen, though, that I kind of been dying to see more in the green. Is it Nick Timoney or
Timoney? Yeah,
there's some people that I think would do a better job than Peter O'Mahony at this stage of his career. They bring in more dynamism and tackle. It does seem like, even though the population of Irish players is not lost, there is some depth there to choose from. It just seems like Farrell and his cohorts have been a bit more reticent to do that. And what do you think that's from? I mean, it's not like he has any pressure. I mean, Farrell could drop a few games and no one's going to call for his head.
Yeah, I kind of think it was a little bit of that, where it was one of the topics you said was mentioned in the pub after the game. It's like, it's an eye on the Lions tour. Like, so what he's kind of trying to do, I'd imagine, is that he's trying to hand over like a steady ship to Simon Easterby and saying, these are the boys that will get you through to the end of the season. And then I think they have a tour of Eastern Europe. Like, they play Georgia and Romania next summer when the Lions tour is going on. So it's like, this will be the chance to blood new people. But for now, these are the guys who will get you through. So keep the experienced guys around. They'll be your lieutenants to kind of show the younger lads the ropes as well. Like, so it's almost like now is not the time to experiment. And there's a little bit of logic to it as well. Like, but at the same time, you're kind of, I think I'd be the same as you guys. Sometimes you get excited by a new player and you want to see him, like a Keane Prendergast or a Ryan Baird, and you're like, just throw him in against the best and see how they get on. Because sometimes they'll live up to it. Sometimes they won't now, but then you learn a lesson as well. Like, but they've been a bit cautious, and I think it's with the Lions in mind that he doesn't want to kind of change things up too much before he goes.
Yeah, logical. There's a good break point there. What, Pat, has been the observations of Australia in Ireland this series, looking ahead this weekend?
Oh, I think everybody was, delighted that they beat England, because they beat England.
That's always good.
So were we, for the record.
Yeah, and then just thrilled that it was a great game as well. Like, because and then you start kind of paying attention. And it's the kind of thing where you might not have paid attention to Australia until the week of the game, but then because of that, you're like, okay, I'll better keep an eye on these guys, because there's the Schmidt factor, of course, like, but now you're kind of having a look and you're seeing clips and even the like the Icky Tao is kind of like his little step again against Wales, and you're like, okay, this guy's got something else about him as well. Like, so it's been interesting to kind of have a look at the squad and see so many unfamiliar faces to a lot of us in Ireland that you're having to read up about them or watch clips as well. Like, so I think everybody, as I said, happy they beat England, and then also kind of good that there's going to be a bit of a challenge because, again, as I said, and this might sound like we're getting way ahead of ourselves in Ireland, as we often do in between World Cups, but we would have thought that, there's just going to be one tough game against New Zealand and that's it. But now it looks like the Australia game is shaping up. It's a shame they kind of they fell off the gas a little bit against Scotland, but I still think that the hype will be there, and if Schmidt can kind of name a full team and put out a lot of the big boys, then it should be good. And then again, once Schmidt comes over and starts talking in the media, then it'll really start getting hyped up as well.
Well, the news there, Harry, coming in from the Wallabies overnight, is that Joseph Suaalii looks like he's been cleared of a fracture in the right wrist. Yeah. So he apparently had a numbing feeling, had no feeling in his right wrist. That's what they were worried about the break. He's a couple of days on. That's all now come back. He's been cleared of break. So reading between the lines there, I think he's a decent chance of playing this weekend. And Jeremy Williams looks like he'll be back as well from having probably overcome the illness. So, if there's a few troops coming back, it could be handy.
Yeah, and the Wallabies, what they do have some edge ability in is some of these superlative athletes, like a Rob Ballatini. Put him in any other team in the Northern Hemisphere, he would be, such a gun because he's just able to carry even from back football. He's been unbelievable. He doesn't take a play off. But yeah, Joseph Akusu Suaalii would be one of those guys where every club in Europe would be just, licking their lips. So, but it seems to me that it would have to come down to that you can throw all the game plans, chuck them out the window. What Wallabies have shown so far is that special moments and like a Tom Wright shimmy or a Ballatini carry that doesn't even make any sense. Otherwise, it just seems like it's one game too far a long season.
Yeah, that's the danger for the Wallabies, no doubt. But what have Ireland seen, Pat, that makes them think, hang on, this might not be quite as easy as it might have felt maybe a month ago?
Yeah, like the forwards have been kind of holding their own as well. I was actually going to ask there as well. I remember there was Skelton got interviewed around a month ago, and he was saying he was hoping that Ronan O'Gara would give him a pass to go off and play as well. Is he allowed play at the weekend? Because
I've not heard whether he's gone to Dublin from Edinburgh or whether he's gone back to France, I must admit. So yeah, fingers crossed there.
That would be big too, because besides Ballatini, I thought Skelton was the best forward against Scotland in a really forward-orientated game. But Pat, it's interesting that what you said about that the perceptions before that the series began, and then Argentina happened. And I don't know, but I would watch that game thinking if it were a knockout match, I think Argentina would have taken the drop goal. They were going for the win. They were trying to win that match, score a try, and went at the death. So that had to sober everyone up. That on any given day, right?
Yeah, that's it. Like my thinking of it, like up in the stands, was just like Ireland have to win this game by any means possible. Like, and because if they had have fallen to a second defeat in a row and had been, as I said, but the problem for Ireland seems to be, as we found against the All Blacks in the World Cup, is that, and as Leinster keep finding out in Champions Cups as well, is that they run out of steam in the last 20 minutes of games. So almost the Irish tactic sometimes is, and you see when they toured New Zealand, it's like try and score in the first 2 or 3 minutes, and build on that, kind of build your momentum and build the lead up for yourself, and then try and hold on to it. So it's kind of a bit of a worry, and that's what we talked about. Maybe that kind of connects with this kind of, not exactly a bomb squad, a diffused bomb squad that kind of or a dud one or something that kind of landed during World War II or something, like a carcass of a bomb squad, a water
bomb squad.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like this thing where they kind of seem to kind of like run out of puff at the end, and teams know that kind of here's what we can get at them, and that's what it looked like what happened with Argentina as well. Like so, yeah, like and Schmidt, you can imagine there for this weekend he'll have he wants to win this game, he wants to come back, and it's not like he left on bad terms, but like he'll want to go back and show everybody that like because what's happened since he left was there's a lot of talk over here that like Schmidt took it to this level and Farrell has taken it to another level again, like and it's like thanks like Schmidt built he had the building blocks. Farrell's really made a great team, so Schmidt would like to go back and show you that like I'm working on a new team here and we can turn you over at home as well. So there's a lot kind of going on there as well, but it'll even be interesting. You miss him but like look what he did. He kind of rumbled us as much as there's other coaches were involved, as everybody in Ireland mainly thinks it was Schmidt that kind of took the legs out from under us in the quarterfinal in the World Cup as well. Like, so there'll be a bit of spice there, I'd say. Yeah,
there was a fair few in New Zealand saying that too, but that was more because they weren't wanting to give Ian Foster any credit.
Is Schmidt still a beloved figure? And I know that Farrell is that now, but how does Schmidt fare in the post era?
Yeah, well, it is that kind of thing, isn't it? Like where because Farrell was able to kick on then and kind of win a Grand Slam and then go back to back and then go to New Zealand and get a victory. It's kind of the way it's almost been viewed now is that Jesus, like Schmidt got us to here. And then Farrell has kind of taken us on a level, and so it is a little bit like it's taken a bit of the sheen off it as well. Like, but and then the big thing is that how Schmidt was kind of like a dictatorial, I should say, like, or he ran a kind of very tight ship, and certain players' faces didn't fit, and Farrell is a lot more relaxed, and so when you're kind of hearing that, like all the players saying, "Oh, it's much more enjoyable. It's the most enjoyable I've ever had, and this is the best bunch of lads," and that I'm sure like Schmidt would be probably up at 3 a.m. kind of pouring over all these quotes as well. Like, but I know he still generally is kind of, he's so well regarded because of what he did with Leinster as well. Like, and, took Leinster to a whole other level after Checa and kind of like, and then basically kind of, it's the genesis of this kind of like this Irish team that's always up 1, 2 or 3 in the world as well. So he'll get a great reception, I'd say, when he comes back. Yeah.
What's funny about, and Brett and I would have remarked upon this, is that Joe seems different in his Wallaby tenure, that he seems more okay with the offload, the speculator, the flick. He's a little more hands-off on the pregame routines and training ground. It's not quite as scripted. He was famous for scripting the exact practice and everything was down to the second. It's interesting to see coaches be different in different eras and in different places.
I've been thinking about that though, mate, and I reckon that's got more to do with the fact that he's got Laurie Fisher there running the field things. He's got Mike Cron running the set piece part. So like he's got a couple of guys as assistants who are as well regarded for their specific skills as he is for a head coach. So I think he's sort of gone, I don't need to do everything when I've got Laurie Fisher and Mike Cron here. I can actually let these guys coach. Yeah. And so I think that this is like the evolution of Joe Schmidt as well.
What was Andy Farrell under Schmidt? The attack coach?
Yeah, forwards coach.
Defense, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Forwards coach. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So I'm sure they all would have kind of dipped into little different parts and stuff as well. Like, but they they seem to have a good relationship. But there very much was like, it was like the minute the minute Schmidt left, it was like things got loosened up a bit. Because you spoke about those kind of, you had to run everything exactly the way it was supposed to be. Like I remember Andrew Trimble used to kind of say that he didn't fear the match, he feared the walkthrough in the hotel the day before. Like, and he said like, because if you got like you had to kind of walk through what your plan was going to be, and if you got one step wrong, it'd be like, so players, and it would be like coming in, and it'd be like, you've got this big maths test in the morning, and you have to have all 100 answers kind of prepared, and you want to, talk about your process as well behind it. So some lads would kind of sink or swim, like, and offloads, that was almost a foreign concept to us there. But it's not exactly, we're not exactly flinging it around these days, but like, but under Schmidt, it was almost a complete no-no. Jared Payne maybe was allowed to get away with it. Everybody else, no.
Yeah, but I heard specifically from people who said that he would do scenario painting, and that was your exam. So it wasn't just, watch this vision of yourself, but literally he would say, if this happens, and then you had to get the right answer. And people were sweating this better, more than the practice itself.
Yeah.
Are you guys, Pat, do you look at the Wallabies and go, oh yeah, I've seen that before?
Oh yeah. Actually, because it was funny. Yeah, like there's a few good folks on Twitter that I'm sure you guys would kind of know as well. There's a lot over here. I think it's EK Analysis. Does some good stuff. But he was talking about the presentation, or you see even a bit of stuff on like TNT Sports over here where they're talking about the ruck and the clean presentation of the ball, and it was just like this is what Schmidt kind of drilled into us. It was like going into contact and presenting it back cleanly and being real spick and span at the breakdown as well. That was definitely one of them as well. And yeah, just that kind of a little bit more kind of, as you said, discipline, but you would have your kind of 2 or 3 designated players where like Schmidt trusts you to, cut loose every now and then, but the rest of you guys have to follow the script as well. Like, so, but yeah, as you said, maybe things have just maybe chilled out a little bit more as the years have gone on, or is closer to New Zealand. Like they always have a chilled out vibe over there. So,
closer to home.
Yeah. He's just relaxed a bit more.
Yeah, and Brett, I thought this before, that the biggest single improvement factor on the Schmidt era for the Wallabies has been the presentation. That
no doubt.
Players are dynamic in presenting it, they're accurate, and they're going away from the direction that a pilferer would come. So it's like there's an art to it, as opposed to just whatever was going on before, which was
and they're actually
crazy.
Getting more counter ruck opportunity as well on the other side of it as well. Yeah, that's a definite thing. And even watching them train, you see the accuracy of guys going to ground. Then it's a very deliberate, long extension back, and like it's very clearly something they've discussed to good levels. We did talk Soldier Field. Had a big opening in Dublin, and now heading to Limerick over the new year. Is that right?
Yeah. What was it? We had a 4-night run there. We had it was all sold out, which we were kind of delighted with, and had a big night. And as I said, Harry's kind of seeing that he's kind of he provides his kind of his lush, deep baritone voice there for as well was brilliant. Like, and so yeah, and it was actually great because it was such a, as I said, a lot of it's kind of told from the perspective of players, like, and one of the guys you kind of I spoke to before was CJ Stander. And I originally put the play on in Dublin in 2019, and this scene wasn't in it. But after, I think a year later, I just spoke to CJ for a work thing, and he was just speaking, just like he's very kind of like he's a kind of godly man as well, like, but he's a guy who's very connected with Axel as well, and like he just kind of like family to him is a big thing, and being made feel welcome. So he just had this thing where like it's in the script almost word for word of what he said, like, of just feeling that connection, and the way Anthony invited him and Jean-Marie, his wife, to the house, and they'd hang out with his kids and his wife and stuff, and how they made him feel part of the family. And he remembered when it was, Jean-Marie's birthday and stuff like that. And then we kind of flick forward to Soldier Field, where he was saying like he was convinced that Anthony Foley was with him on the pitch that day, and kind of drove him forward and stuff like that. So yeah, it was tough, and yeah, we kind of we dabbled in it with trying a couple of South African accents ourselves. And I always thought that Daniel Craig had a great South African accent in the film Munich, until I spoke to other South Africans. They told me it was you. So yeah, we were probably a bit like that. We had goes at it, and then somebody else who kind of said he was a neutral, came along and said, maybe ask an actual South African to do that voice. Like, and
so that then led you to Harry Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
and as I said,
Harry Jones.
That's it.
And he got the brief, and he delivered 100%.
Nailed it. So what I loved about the thing that you gave me to work with, and I listened to it 1,000 times before I tried my own, was I thought that the relationship between a player and a coach is somewhat sacred in all sports, but in rugby, I think particularly, because you're asking people to do things that are just not natural. All of them are crimes on the street. And so I just love the way that Foley won CJ Stander's trust with family, food, a birthday. It was interesting. I felt like the thing itself was well chosen. What is your background in playwriting and such? I mean, you seem to tell stories about rugby very well, and I think we're missing that. So how did you come about?
Yeah, I kind of did it when I was kind of in college, like doing journalism in college, and I kind of had we had a project one year, and it was kind of everybody could do whatever media project they wanted. So some people like managed a band or produced a CD. This is probably showing my age here, talking about CDs. It wasn't a cassette. Anyway.
For our younger listeners, you can ask your parents what a CD is.
And and then some people were like, or they do a radio show or a documentary, and I said, oh, I'd write a play, and then I'd put it, I'd say, here's how you put it together, like here's how you'd stage it, here's what the props would be. And then when I kind of did all that, I was like, oh, I'd love to put it on. So we put the play on and just got friends and family and wannabe actors to do it and put it on and had it like in front of like 70, 80 people. And I was kind of saying you'd forget about the 5 or 6 weeks of rehearsals and all the stress that goes into it. And all you can remember is the kind of claps at the end and stuff. And,
opening night. Yeah.
And that was my kind of introduction to it. And then I always kind of just stayed in with it and kind of would write my own stuff and kind of get to stage it. Probably the biggest one, back in 2006, I lived in New Zealand for a year in Auckland, and I put a play on that I wrote in the New Zealand Comedy Festival over there at the, I think it's gone now. It wasn't because of me, but it's called the Maidman Theatre in Auckland. We staged it there and over 4 nights, and then that was great. Went back to Ireland and had it in kind of venues and music festivals, and a lot of the time it would be comedy as well. And then I kind of thought I'd left all that stage of my life behind when we started having kids. We have 4 kids, so I kind of was like, that's that part of my life gone. But then once the kids get older and life settles down a little bit and you start getting a bit more sleep, you kind of thinking, oh, I'd like to do that again. I was kind of saying, some people had asked how the story of Soldier Field happened, and I was just saying, I was fortunate enough to be there in 2016, and then had to report on all the Anthony Foley's untimely passing and how that kind of affected that community and those players, and to kind of see the 4 of them went out there just 4 weeks later and made Irish rugby history and all played a big part in it. I kind of think it stuck with me for a couple of years. So I was always saying there's a story in there about the fans and the players, and then my wife just let me go away for, I think it was 4 nights or something like that, and I just got kicked off an Airbnb, the place, and started putting the bones of a script together, and then just kind of so it was great.
And Axel's family also helped you or is endorsing it, right?
Yeah. His sister Orla they were doing a charity single a couple of years ago, and she does fundraisers for some charities that she raises it in his kind of memory, and kind of raises money, and it helps kind of keep his name out there and keeps the legacy going. So when I kind of spoke to her about that, I mentioned the play, and the minute she heard about it, Orla was saying, you have to bring it to Munster, you have to bring it down here, and it'll go down so well. And so she's been she came to our opening night, but we had her in Salins, kind of did it with the Salins Dramatic Society here, and then we went up to a bigger theatre up the road and called the Moat Theatre, and she came along there, and so just to know that she was in the audience, I kind of said sometimes it feels a bit strange because sometimes if somebody's a legend, they don't even feel real sometimes. Even though I would have interviewed Axel over the years and stuff, but he's big, larger than life. And then all of a sudden when you meet a sister of his or you meet a friend of his, it kind of brings it all back home that, this is very much a real guy. And I think even maybe a few weeks before I did that, I spoke to Donnacha O'Callaghan, who kind of played with him and then kind of under him as a player and a coach. And I remember doing an interview with him, and I was asking him, about life, and he had a new book that was coming out, and talking to him about he does a bit of radio stuff over here, and talking about the current Irish setup, and he gave me great answers for everything. Donnacha's really kind of he's a big personality.
Yeah.
I asked him about Axel, and I think he spoke for 7 or 8 minutes straight about what the guy meant to him, and just straight off the top, no kind of nothing planned, and he was kind of saying I really wish I think he said, I feared no team when I ever played for Munster, but the only thing I ever feared was letting that guy down. And you kind of get off the call and you're like, Jesus, I knew him, but I wish I knew the guy, that kind of thing. So a great thing to just be able to do a small thing to kind of remember him in a way, and raise some money at the same time.
we've got a small but loyal following in Ireland. What's the show and ticket details for people who want to check it out?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. So it'll be on next February. We're having it on next February in two places. We're having it in the Moat Theatre in Kildare, and so that you'd find it on like the moattheatre.com or .ie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the same thing. It's going to be in the Lime Tree Theatre in Limerick on February 13th. So I think that's limetreebelltable.ie is the website for that as well. So just search the Lime Tree Theatre and you'll find it there for February, and you might get to meet Harry Jones for free as a bonus on one of the nights.
I'm coming to Lime Tree. My disembodied voice will be there for you to listen to, but I will be there, so I can even kind of lip sync it if you want.
Yeah. You get a microphone, you can turn your back to the stage. Yeah.
But Brett, the key to CJ's accent is he didn't speak that much English when he was in George Neisner area. He was a true Afrikaner, and then he learned a lot of his English in Cork. So the key to nailing CJ's accent is actually that it's a blended, and I'm an expert in blending accents.
Yes, very true. Very true. Pat, this has been a fantastic chat, mate. We've really enjoyed this. It's been great to have you on and to find out the backstory of this remarkable player as well, and my co-host's role in it. Thanks so much for giving us some time.
Cheers, guys. And I hope to God now, I heard you had like your biggest ever episode there last week. I hope this kind of can hold a candle to it and kind of get I'll be pushing it hard on my end.
Yes, do it.
I have faith in the Irish fans.
Just right, cheers, guys.
Before you drop out, Pat, can you stick around for...
This is the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones. Mate, really enjoyable chat with Pat, with a colleague of yours. Well, and mine. We didn't talk about RugbyPass, but yes.
Now you see, once he started talking to me about doing this, there's no way to refuse Pat. He's just the nicest guy in the world, an interesting storyteller. I actually have often thought that every rugby match of note is like a play. Actually, any rugby match, even at club level, schools level, it kind of unwraps like a 3-act play. It's got all those dramas in it. It's probably the reason why we still love this thing, even if it drives us crazy. Because it's so dramatic. There's so many dramatic moments. There's the people you think are going to be the lead actors on that day ends up the other guy.
Yeah, true.
The reserve hooker comes in and saves the day. Who knows? But Pat's got a unique ability to tell a story. The play is wonderful, and really, it's a work of love, I think.
Yeah, cool. Do go and check it out if you're going to be in the Cork and Limerick areas in February. It is getting great reviews. If you haven't already, do go back and check out our test match post-mortem after Scotland's 27-13 win over the Wallabies on Sunday in Europe, Monday morning Australian time. It's on all the pod platforms and on the 8-9 YouTube channel right here as well. The one last game of the weekend, England beat Japan pretty comfortably, mate, 59-14. I think the biggest headline seems to have been Eddie Jones getting a mouthful from Twickenham man in the stands, and then he teed off on Danny Kerr in the press conference, which is good on you, mate.
Feed the fire.
Yeah, I don't know why you do that. The URC and the Premiership will be back this weekend. Coming, it was round 10 of the top 14. That resumed on the weekend just gone, and I am looking at scores for the first time right now. Toulon beat Bayonne pretty comfortably. Stade Francais accounted for Racing in the Paris derby. So that's all ticking along about nicely. It's tied at the top. There's only 2 points between Toulouse and Bordeaux at the top. And then there's 5 teams between 28 and 26 points, third to 7. So it's getting tight in the middle there.
Yeah. And French rugby is looking pretty good. That's one of the countries I think that have come through the Autumn Nation series with the most acclaim. They very much adapted to the new emphases and law shifts proposed by World Rugby, and part of that is because they've got infinite power and a lot of pace.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The World Players of the Year were named at the World Rugby Awards on the weekend. Ellie Kildunn, Peter Steph du Toit, Madison Levi, and Anton Dupont were named the World Rugby Players of the Year. I don't think there was any great surprise or controversy in those picks. They all were pretty much best of the best.
I mean, yeah, it's sort of an academic exercise speaking by these awards,
Yeah.
but I actually more track who's nominated. And because if you get nominated 3 or 4 times
The
in your
teams were
career,
interesting.
you're amazing, right? And who ends up winning it? I think in this case, the 4 that were nominated were so universally acclaimed, not for their body of work over 3 or 4 years, but this particular season, high minutes, excellent. So it was that situation where if anyone had won it, everyone
they would
have
have been deserving.
Pretty much okay.
Yeah. And I think it was 7 or 8 Springboks in the 15's team of the year, which is
I bet you thought 7 or 8 in the 4 nominees.
No.
No, that was an interesting one. I thought Malcolm Marks shouldn't have been in that. I thought Cody Taylor was the best hooker of the season. But everything else, I think, tracks. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure I know who the 10 of the year was, but it wasn't Damien McKenzie.
That was a bit
weird.
of a surprise. I was happy to see Pablo Matera.
Yeah,
in the back row. He's had a strong. He's had a strong.
I might have picked the Argentinian guy for 10. Actually, Albornoz. I don't know.
But he wasn't.
Had a good.
Sent, Carreras was playing 10 a lot through the rugby championship, so he didn't play a lot of 10.
That does factor into it, the number of minutes. Yeah, I get that, but Damien McKenzie never to me looked convincing until the Aviva.
Number of minutes didn't stop DuPont winning the 7th player of the year, so we're back with the games of the week later in the week to cover off the final Autumn Nation Series match and the final international match of 2024 as well, when the Test match post-mortem returns Saturday evening European time, early Sunday morning in Australia, following Ireland, Australia in Dublin. So make sure you are all subscribed and following as needed and wherever you need to. A final thought for the weekend, for the week?
I love my new microphone. It's got lights. It's got
you're getting very professional here now.
It's amazing.
He's gone proper. He's gone full blown podcast equipment. He's broadcaster Jason is what I've called him now. You've got proper studio headphones on even now.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they actually. You sound better. Everything sounds better. The world is better.
No, you're sounding wonderful. That then, mate, is episode 42 of the 8-9 Combo done. Our second last for the year, probably. Check the show notes for the links to the 8-9 Combo on Twitter and YouTube, and now on BlueSky as well. You can leave us a rating or a review wherever you can, and make sure your notifications and auto downloads and all that sort of stuff is all set to on. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places, at Harry Bordy Jones and at BMC Sport. You'll find links on our socials and on the show notes as well for Harry's written work on The Roar a couple of times a month, and my weekly Australian columns on RugbyPass as well. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears in just a few days' time with one last Northern Spring Autumn Series Tour edition of Games of the Week.
Come play with us.